Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop. All the news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's the host.
Welcome to Inside Scoop. I'm Bettina Lawton, and I'm your host. And tonight we're going to tackle a topic that's in the news a lot lately, and that's hate crimes. And the hate crimes have been around for many, many years, and it kind of varies depending on the era, who we're going to hate. But it's really gotten a lot of attention recently because of the 2016 presidential election and the events that happened there with all of the anti-immigrant, anti-Muslim, anti-women, anti-gay, you name it, rhetoric that was going on during that election season, and it became sort of normalized in many people's minds, and you saw a lot more simply bad behavior going on. Bad behavior is not the same as a hate crime, and so we're going to talk about hate crimes, what the trends are, particularly here in Fairfax County. We're going to talk about some institutional type responses that have developed since then, as well as one's individual effort to combat discrimination and intolerance. So we're going to start off with an encore appearance from Captain Matt Owens. He joined the Fairfax County Police Department in 1996. He served in numerous patrol assignments. He was a sergeant in the Sully District Police Station. He was a second lieutenant in IAD, which is everyone who watches cop shows knows, Internal Affairs. He was a first lieutenant in the Department of Public Communications, and he became an assistant commander at Sully. He is now a commander and promoted to captain in 2016, and he is assigned as the commander of the Planning and Research Bureau. So he knows stuff. He knows statistics and good info. And we also have with us Bob Marro. He is the executive director of the Alliance for an Indivisible America 2020. In October 2016, Mr. Marro was recognized by the Fairfax Board of Supervisors with the 2016 Barbara Varone Volunteer Award, which recognizes a Fairfax County resident's dedication to improving the community through volunteer service. He has served since 2002 as the government outreach chair for the All Dulles Area Muslim Society and has been instrumental in developing Adams as a major role in civic engagement in Fairfax and Virginia. Attendance at the Adams Eid celebrations, the Friday services, and their town halls have become must-stops for politicians in Northern Virginia. He is a retired senior foreign service officer with long experience living and working in the Muslim world. He has been a trustee of the Adams Center since 2009 and chairman of the Adams Government Relations and Interfaith Committee since 2002. He has designed and managed many civil and interfaith outreach programs for the Adams Center and has developed a wide network of media contacts. He has frequently presented programs on Islam on various television news programs all across America. So I want to welcome you both and thank you for taking time to come tonight and talk about this topic.
Thank you.
Great to be here. I want to start with you, Matt, to sort of set the stage about hate crime. So what's a hate crime? As I said in the opening, it's not bad behavior just. So what makes it a hate crime?
So you can have a bias incident or you can have a bias crime. Right, and I'll start by defining the difference. So a bias incident would be something that isn't a criminal violation of law, but it still targets a group for their race, religion, ethnic or national origin, sexual orientation, disability, things of that nature. An example of this might be putting leaflets on cars that speak out against a certain community that I just mentioned, any of those communities, and that would be targeting them. While it's not a crime to put that on the car, it certainly is going to create fear in that community, or at least has the potential to, and it's a matter that we take very seriously and we want to look into and see who's doing those things in the community so we're aware of what's going on. A bias crime, on the other hand, is a violation of law. A bias crime is an unlawful action against a person of any of those nationalities, the race, the ethnicity, the things that I mentioned, and this is an actual violation of law. So in Virginia, the Code of Virginia doesn't specifically define this as a hate crime. What it does is it offers enhanced penalties for either assaults or destructions of property, things of that nature. It offers enhanced penalties in cases in which those were done to go against one of those communities that I just mentioned.
Okay, so for it to be, so you have a regular crime, in Virginia, like the assault or the property destruction, and what makes it the hate part is who it's directed at. It's the victim as opposed to, that defines it as a hate crime?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And you have, I looked on your website, because I want to say, if you're interested in this in Fairfax County, go to the police website. They have a fabulous set of reports on bias in the county. But one of the categories that they had was unknown, and it was a big sort of category. And I thought, how can it be unknown and be a hate crime? So explain to us how that is, because the highest incident was anti-black, and then it went to this unknown, and then I think it might have gone to the anti-Jewish next, but in any event, there was a whole bunch of them, but that unknown was like number 2.
Right. So an unknown bias crime in Fairfax, what that would capture is, for example, if there was a swastika painted on a path, as an example. That could be used by a hate group that's in the county as an example of being a member of that group, or it could also be somebody that puts that there who is targeting somebody, perhaps the Jewish community. So we're not sure who the intended victim was in that incident. However, so certainly, again, something that's going to create fear and uncertainty and not have the culture of safety in the community that we want to have, where people feel safe in Fairfax and feel comfortable and are able to go about their lives and enjoy their lives.
So we have a pretty safe community in Fairfax. That's what we always hear, and the overall crime statistics show that. But what, in terms of trends on the hate crimes, what are those trends like? So
starting in 2014, we've seen an increase in 2015, and our most recent numbers in 2016. In 2016, we had a total of 83 hate crimes. That was a 38% increase over the previous year. As you mentioned just a few minutes ago, in an aggregate total of the last 5 years, the number one group that was targeted would have been anti-black, or the type of crime would have been anti-black. Number 2 was the unknown that we just discussed. Number 3 was anti-Jewish. Number 4 was anti-Muslim. And then number 5 was anti-individuals of various ethnicity and national origins.
Now, how do you distinguish that? Because to me, an anti-Muslim hate crime and an anti-ethnicity hate crime sort of have a lot in common. I mean, you've got a certain area of the country, like with the most recent travel ban, there were 6 or 7, depending on the travel ban, countries it was considered an anti-Muslim ban, but it was done on a country basis. So what's the distinction between that makes it in one category versus the other? Is it double counted? How does it work?
No, it's not double counted. What I would say is I think it's important to remember that not every, for example, member of the Muslim community is from one of those countries, and not every person from those countries is a member of the Muslim community. Okay. There could be of various faiths as well. So what's important to remember is all the details that surround the crime. If it's clearly targeting somebody because of their religion, if somebody makes a statement in that commission of that bias incident or bias crime, and they make a statement that is targeting them because of their religion, that would be anti-Muslim. Okay. If they're targeting them because of their ethnicity and perhaps where they appear to be from, then that would be anti-ethnicity.
So that's like the Sikhs, am I saying this right? The Sikhs, they're Sikhs, Indians, yeah. But people, they see the turbans and they think they're Muslim, and then they start yelling anti-Muslim things at them. It's not that they're Muslim, it's that they're from India, right. And they look foreign, and so people yell at them. Right. So Bob, you're now with this Alliance for an Indivisible America that got started earlier this year. So why? What is that about?
There's probably never been as much of a need as there is right now. And the idea is, we've had, as Captain Owens said, Fairfax County is relatively safe. We've had a good relationship with law enforcement, good relationship with our civic outreach, government officials, and even interfaith. We have constant interfaith activities. I was at a synagogue in Washington just yesterday where they were honoring some Muslims in Albania who had saved Jews during the Holocaust and in World War II. We do this all the time. And we think that this is a kind of a formula for success. So what we want to do is to let people know nationwide that you can do things proactively that would help your community figure out ways to get better understood and get people to better know who they are and what they're all about. So we can eliminate some of the suspicion, we can eliminate a lot of the fear, eliminate the lack of knowledge. As you said with the Sikhs are targeted because people think that they're Muslim. Right. They're different. What we want to do is to show that Muslims are making very significant contributions to every aspect of American life.
Well, you've got this terrific brochure. I'm going to actually show it. And it talks about who founded the Alliance. And it's the Adams Center, the Muslim Association of Virginia, and Masjid Muhammad, which is an organization in D.C., if I recall correctly. So these are all Muslim groups, but you've got this great little picture of all of these, priests and rabbis. A Sikh is in here. There's all kinds of folks in here. So is this a Muslim organization? Is this an interfaith organization? What exactly are these other people?
Interfaith organization driven by Muslims, because we're the ones who are feeling the brunt of all the pain. But we've got so many people, as you've seen in that picture. That picture was taken in the National Cathedral in Washington. And we have people who are evangelical Christians. We have people who are from the cathedral, Sikhs, Jews, people of every different nationality, every ethnicity, every religion. And they're all coming together. And I think some of them realize, when they with the Sikhs, they realize that if there's discrimination, even if it's not actually intended targeting them, they're going to be bearing the brunt of it. They're going to be caught in the overflow. Same thing, Jewish community. The memories in the Jewish community run very, very deep. It's not even 100 years ago that many of their grandparents, great-grandparents, were living in Europe and had their lives turned upside down, and in many cases their lives ended simply because of who they were. And they don't want to see that happening again, especially in the country that welcomed them after all of that was over.
Well, and our most recent hate crimes in Fairfax, at least the ones that got enough publicity, were the ones right before Easter involving a Jewish, either a community center or a community center and a church. And so I was like, really? So they are
and
still.
The church we think was attacked because they had a banner out on their billboard out in front talking about, we welcome people of all faiths and we welcome our Muslim neighbors. Someone didn't like that.
Someone didn't like that, so that's what they've got to do. Okay, well, so you've got this organization. So when did you decide to form this? Because I know it went active a little bit ago. So was this in the planning for a year or 3 months or?
Late 2015 when we started putting the ideas together and thought, we need to get a little bit better publicity, we need to get people to better understand, and we started looking into the community and how can we do this? How can we be most effective? And we went through, we actually planned to launch last summer, but with the presidential campaign, with everything else that was going on, we decided to hold off and just wait and see how things would come.
Yeah, so, you probably would have been overwhelmed with other publicity at the time.
Exactly.
So. Well, do stay with us because we're going to come back and talk some more about the Alliance and what it's doing and how it's going to help. So do stay with us because we will be right back.
Strawberries? Okay.
Okay, so what would you bring to my company?
What do you need?
I need problem-solving skills.
I got through high school without a car, a phone, or a computer.
No college degree, though.
Not yet, but life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. and move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
I'm Bettina Lawton, I'm your host. We are here with Bob Marro, and we are going to be talking about the Alliance for an Indivisible America 2020. And Bob, I wanted to find out from you, why did you need this? The Adams Center is well known for its interfaith efforts all these years. So why did you need a new organization?
You know, it's exactly that. You know, we really don't need an organization for the Adams Center. But what we thought is that there are 2,500 mosques all over the United States, and there are only very few who have any kind of a program like what we've been doing. And most of them don't have any full-time staff. Most of them rely on volunteers. Everyone that we've met wants to do something. They keep saying, we have to go out and do something. We have to get better understood. But no one knew how to do it. So we thought, well, look, we've been doing it with success. We've actually been working with our other partners, Masjid Muhammad and Muslim Association of Virginia, for many, many years, and had kind of worked together and figuring it all out. We learned from them, they learned from us. But we thought, we can actually help mentor people nationwide so that they can go out and figure out how to do the same things that we've been doing with success. I mean, we're not brilliant. We're not saying that we're rocket scientists and we have a monopoly on innovation, but we're saying we've been successful. And if you change what you've been doing, if you adapt to some of the things that we've done, put it into your own context, adapt it for your own backyard, you'll have that same success. And you'll have the same kind of great relationships with interfaith partners, with civic partners, with your government officials, and it will really benefit your entire community.
Now, 2,500 mosques, where are they all? Are they concentrated in particular areas, or are they pretty much across the country?
Pretty much the latter, across the country. It started out probably 30 years ago. They were probably little pockets. Right. The bigger mosques still tend to be in places like around Detroit area, Ann Arbor, Michigan, Los Angeles, Houston, here in Washington, D.C., northern New Jersey, New York City. But there are mosques everywhere. In fact, the oldest mosque in the country is in, I think it's Cedar Rapids, Iowa. It was started in 1934. Wow. And it was purpose-built as a mosque. And it probably serves a few hundred people. But there are more and more mosques being built every year. Funny story, when I first came back from overseas in 1981, I came back from Malaysia. My wife and I were driving, my parents lived in northern New Jersey, and right where the New Jersey Turnpike and Route 80 come together, we were driving along, and we looked over on the side, and there was a building under construction. And it had a dome, it had the arched windows, and I looked at my wife and said, if I didn't know better, I would think that was a mosque. But, northern New Jersey, a mosque? Sure enough, we came back a couple of years later, and the building was now finished, and there was a sign out front of it that said Dar al-Islam Mosque. And I thought, wow, Teaneck, New Jersey, boy.
Who knew?
Yeah, so I think there are more mosques being set up. There's been a big influx of population. There's probably at least 3 million. Some estimates are as high as 6 or maybe even 7 million. But people, they want to have a place where they can pray, where they can go have community events, where they can be with others from the community, and have the opportunity to be, just like churches. There are churches all over. Mosques are the same thing. It's just serving a community need. There are people who look at this and say, they're trying to take over. Right. And what we want to do with the Alliance is to show, look, there's nothing to worry about. We are here, we're simply trying to live the American life like every other immigrant group that's come.
And how do you do that? I know I was, frankly, showing you my ignorance, a couple of years back when I first became more familiar with the Adams Center, I was very surprised that you had your own Girl Scout troop and you have your own Boy Scout troop, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that Muslims did things like Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. And I guess years ago you couldn't because it was religion restricted, and they lifted those a number of years ago. But, so is that the type of thing you're saying to some of these, the mosques across the country with sort of the blueprint through this alliance of saying here are things that you can do to sort of get your message out, get other people, or are like, how much interaction does the mosque-based Girl Scout troop have with the Episcopal one down the road? I mean, I don't know how Girl Scouts work. I didn't have any girls.
There's a little bit of an element of that, doing things and reaching out, setting up athletic programs. If you've got a group of kids who want to play soccer, get into a rec league in your community. Even if you're a Muslim league or a Muslim team, make it open to anyone who wants. The kids who are on your team will probably have schoolmates who are not Muslim. Invite them to come and join the team. Join the rec league and go out and play with the other teams. And just let people see that you're human. Other things, last Christmas, there was a threat from ISIS saying that they wanted to blow up Christian churches on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. Well, we sent out about a dozen different groups to churches all over the region. And we went and we attended Christmas Mass, Christmas services, and we would have like 5, 6, 10 people at each of these services. So we're telling other mosques, do that. Contact the church down the street. Contact the synagogue, on the other side of town, and just say, we'd like to come over and spend some time at your service, and we'd like you to come and attend ours. And people will react very favorably, for the most part. I'm sure you're going to run into a few who are not, but for the most part, people were very appreciative of these things. And what we're trying to do, like with the AIA, is let people see what Muslims are doing on a day-to-day basis. We want to highlight people who are making contributions, whether they be doctors and healthcare professionals, whether they be IT, school teachers, firefighters, police. We want to highlight so that people will understand that, look, they may be a little bit different look from you. The women may be wearing a headscarf, or they may not. My wife never wears a headscarf. It was just not part of her culture. But there's really no difference between what's inside and what's in your heart.
Well, I think what you just said is actually something that's important for people to learn about headscarves not being in your wife's culture, because I think many Americans have particularly for the women, here is what a Muslim woman looks like. And at the one extreme, you're going to have the entire full burqa look, right? But you're always going to have that headscarf. And realizing that isn't the definitional term. You can have people all along the spectrum of what it means to be Muslim, but many people really have just a picture, and that's it.
Yeah, and what we want to do is to kind of break those stereotypes. And one of the ways that we're trying to do, we're working like with the Adams community, for example, right now. Adams just underwent a major expansion. The new expanded part of the mosque is going to be open in early May. So on the 7th of May, we're inviting all of our neighbors from churches, from synagogues, temples, gurdwaras, people from the neighborhood. We want to have them come over. Come into a mosque. I'm sure many people you've never seen the inside of a mosque, and it's sort of a mystery. What's going on in there?
What's going on in there?
So they can come in, they can see, they'll walk around, they'll have an opportunity to have some sample Muslim cuisine. They can ask an imam. They'll see exhibits, art and cultural exhibits, or maybe some exhibits about some of the scientific inventions that came out of the Muslim world that have benefited all of mankind. They'll even have an opportunity. We're going to set up a little table where people can come in, speaking of headscarves. The women can put on a headscarf, the men can put on a topi.
Beautiful headscarf.
And we'll have a picture of them. And you'll be like a Muslim for a moment.
Muslim for a moment, I love it.
And it'll have, we can post it on the Facebook so that they can put it, we'll tag them, and they can see, what it would be like if they were from a culture where these things were common.
Well, and I do want to encourage people to go out to the Adams Center on May 7th, because I've been there a number of times, and I've been to a number of other mosques, and they are gorgeous. They are gorgeous architecturally, and the food is just, I got to tell you people, the food is fabulous. You've just got to go. It's really very good.
Good.
So hopefully you'll get a whole lot of folks to show up for that, because...
As we say, inshallah, God willing.
God willing, that's right, because we've been there. Now, you have a goal in the Alliance of 1 million supporters.
Yes.
So how are you going to do that?
We want to get the word out, and we want people to just sign up. And signing up is very easy. We're not asking even for financial contributions. We'd love to have you if you'd like to help support us financially. But we simply want to be able to reach out to you, whether it's on Facebook or Twitter or the website, and just have people coming in and reading about what we're doing. Before coming down, for example, I was just preparing an article about those Albanians who had helped Jews in World War II. Albania, a Muslim country, the only country in Europe that started out with a few Jews, and by the end of the war had 10 times the Jewish population as it did when the war began.
Really?
Because so many Jews came to Albania to try to find refuge, and they did find it, and there were families in every village that were sheltering Jews. Not a single Jew was ever turned in by anyone in Albania, Muslim or any other religion. That's the only country in Europe where you can say that.
I have never heard that story.
Yeah, and this was, I mean, they were honoring, at the synagogue in Washington, they were honoring an Albanian family for exactly that. And it's very curious because most people think, oh, Jews and Muslims at each other's throats constantly. Right. And here, it was a very emotional service as people were recalling, what their parents and their grandparents had done and what they had gone through. And this is the kind of story we want to get out, because we need people to understand that, look, just like the concept of hospitality in Albania is rooted in their Muslim faith. Mm-hmm. This is something which is done all over the world. Now, look, we understand there's a lot of crazy people out there. Many of them are Muslim, and they do some despicable things. Mm-hmm. But the average Muslim, all over the world is someone who's going to be very welcoming, going to give you the kind of warm welcome that you yourself have seen when you come to Adams. And we've had so many politicians, so many others, interfaith people who say, I love coming to Adams because I feel so welcome. Mm-hmm. And what we want to do with the Alliance is to make sure that every mosque everywhere can do that same thing, so that all their neighbors, all their interfaith partners, all their law enforcement officials will go out and say the same thing, like, boy, we really like going there. Mm-hmm. And we have the advantage. You've got people, Muslim world encompasses 59, 60 different countries. Probably the preponderance are from South Asia, Middle East. You've got some very unique cuisines. And people came with a tradition of knowing how hospitality, how to cook and how to prepare these things. If we can encourage mosques to go out and invite people to come in, not only to sample the mosque, sample the food, get to know the people. I think people will be really, it will turn around a lot of attitudes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I do want to encourage people to do that, because it is something that, and over food, I mean, that's your basic hospitality thing, is people bond and get to know other people over it. And there are some great events out at the Adams Center. So where can people, when you say on Facebook, so what do they type in to find you on Facebook? The Adams Center, Sterling, Virginia, or they go on the website, which is adamscenter.org. Okay. For the Alliance for an Indivisible America. Our website is AIA2020.org. Our Facebook is Alliance for an Indivisible America. Excellent. Well, I thank you for coming, Bob. And it's been a pleasure. I wish you the best of luck in the Alliance and continued success out at the Adams Center. Thank you so much. I always enjoy myself. I'd love to come back and give you a progress report. Absolutely. I'm going to look for it. So stay with us, because we're going to be back in just a few minutes.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
Hey, Hard, what's this? That's my resignation. You're resigning? Why? You've been putting me under a lot of pressure lately. That's why I'm ready to quit. Oh, I forgot. I'll do better. Please don't quit on me.
Don't let your heart quit on you. Get your uncontrolled high blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late.
So you can't save money? That's easy as pie. Brown bag your lunch instead of going out. $6 save times 5 days a week times 10 years is $21,000. That's a lot of lettuce. Small changes today, big bucks tomorrow. Feedthepig.org.
Did you know kids who play outdoors have healthier lungs?
Totally. I did. Did you know that boys that play with dolls make better husbands?
My son has lots of dolls. But did you know terry cloth diapers breathe better?
I did.
It's totally true.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that strollers have the right of way on the sidewalk?
Yes. Yep, I did. Did you guys Did you know that kids who eat breakfast have higher GPAs?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. That's actually what I was going to say.
Did you know babies should never touch silver? It's really bad for them.
I knew that.
Did you guys know that statistically friendly kids have more friends?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's obvious.
Did you know most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to make sure your child is protected.
I'm putting that on my blog.
I just put it in mine.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
This is Inside Scoop Virginia, and I'm Bettina Lawton, your host. And I have with me Muslim Lakhani. He is a Pakistani entrepreneur and philanthropist. And so we are very excited to have him because we hear a lot about institutional efforts to deal with Islamophobia. And institutional efforts at cross-cultural interfaith activities. But Muslim has actually taken it upon himself to do this. He has been an entrepreneur and a philanthropist with over 35 years of experience in the private sector in the Middle East, Europe, Southeast Asia, the United States. In his youth, he was an international polo player. I've never met one of those before. And he has spent 2 decades investing his own money in various charitable projects all over the world. He was honored last month by the U.S. House of Representatives for his philanthropic efforts. And earlier this year, he was also recognized by the Virginia General Assembly. And this recognition was brought about by both Republicans and Democrats. So it's a bipartisan effort. I understand he is the first South Asian Pakistani American to be so honored. So we're very pleased about that. In 2016, Muslim was awarded the Interfaith Bridge Builders Award by the Interfaith Conference of Metropolitan Washington as a leader in promoting greater international, interfaith, cross-cultural dialogue, reconciliation, and mutual understanding. And this is his maiden voyage on Inside Scoop. So welcome, Muslim. I'm glad you could be here tonight.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, I want to talk about, you grew up in Pakistan.
Yes.
In Karachi. So what was that like? This was the 1950s, and most of us only know Pakistan from 9/11. So what was it actually like when you were growing up? What was your childhood?
When I was growing up in Pakistan, in Karachi, it was very different than the Pakistan that is there now.
Okay.
It doesn't relate to anything that the kind of Pakistan that I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
It was very secular. It was very tolerant. I went to a school with Jewish kids, Hindu kids, with everybody. We had a great time. Nobody talked about, oh, you're this or you're that. You talk more about, human beings and going to each other's homes and celebrating each other's days that are, like Christmas or the Hanukkah or, whatever it may be. The Hindu, I had lots of friends who also were celebrating Holi or whatever they were celebrating. As young kids, you wanted to celebrate all the time.
Yeah, any reason.
That was what it was.
So
But it was a Pakistan of what the founder of Pakistan said. It is not the business of the state to ask you to go or not to go or to worship. The business of the state is to give you protection. You're free to go to your mosque, to your church, to your synagogue, to the mandirs or temples or wherever.
It's very different than today.
Oh my God, it's totally different. The world is different today.
Right.
I mean, when I went to school, there were no calculators.
True.
I mean, there were no seat belts in the cars.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We were living large back then, and we survived.
We survived it.
We certainly did. I do want to point out for the people who are watching us is that you'll see rolling behind us periodically various pictures of Muslim, both in his youth and in getting various rewards and doing the things that we're going to be talking about. So that's what you're seeing in the background. You ended up, I mentioned that you were a polo player. You traveled all around the world. You went back to Pakistan and lived there for a long time, becoming an entrepreneur. You're known a lot for charitable work in the United States, but when did all of the interest in your charity start? Where did that come from?
Well, that came, well, first let me just tell you that my father died when I was 2 or less. And then my sister was born when my father died and my mother was under stress. So she was born, and then, all I remember, the little remembrances, who the hell took my cot? It was more like that, but she was gone. And then I was, we were 11 or 12 of us. And my mother was grieving, so my elder sisters, my grandmother was there. She kind of was the matriarch and, helping us with many things that young kids need. And then she passed away in front of me when I was about 8. So here I was, by the age of 8, I had lost 3.
Wow. I
understood that by the age of 6 that I didn't have a father, 5 or 6. And 8, in front of me, they took away my grandmother, 8, 9, I remember. It's very daunting on a young person, young child. And then, while I was still just entering my teens, my brother died in an air crash. He was 29 or 30, maybe younger, I don't remember. But all I remember then is that by the time I got into my teens, I knew one thing, that you're born and you're going to die. And while you're living, life, it's a miracle. Life is a miracle. It's gifted to you. And you must enjoy it. And while you enjoy it, you try to find the middle path that if you can, like my father did, and like my mother taught me, actually, that, if we were eating food and people came to the door all the time asking for food or something, and she would tell me, take your food. In fact, she would tell the staff that, take half the food that's on the table. And she would tell me to take the entire big thing over to them. And I remember one day, there was this lady and with a whole bunch of kids. So I sat down and I said, it was very impressionable. It was, so I brought up kind of a cloth.
It's obviously very emotional, even all these years later.
Anyway, so this became part of my ethos. I could easily have been there.
Yeah. It's when you get that perspective that says, that could be me.
Yeah.
If circumstances were different, it could have been me. That gives you a totally different perspective. Now, some people never get that. They are just so about what they have. But you obviously really sort of absorbed the lessons of your childhood about being kind to other people and the whole sort of charitable approach. It seems like you really got that early on.
Yeah, I think it happened at a very, I was very fortunate. I'm very thankful to the Lord, thankful to God that it happened to me at a very young age. And then by the time I was 17 and a half, I left for Italy. I was supposed to be there for an 8 to 9 month course, and I stayed on, and a year and a half later, I went from Italy to England and Europe, and I was a polo player, so I, could play, but I don't mean to be, here I'm choking up talking about the story, but I also played with the royalty and all that. But that didn't affect me because my reality was coming in and telling me I enjoyed the game. I was a I enjoyed sports, so that was part of it. And that also is, again, you know, all these things that happen to you for a cause, for a purpose. I mean, I remember that when I was young, you know, I was 11th or 12th child. Nobody knew I was around. So I was kind of,
you can get away with
anything.
anything.
What do I do? And my sisters, you know, all of them have passed away. I've lost 18 members of my family. I'm the only one now, and my children. And so the perspective, but the beauty is that, you know, God is merciful. God is kind. He gives you strength that you don't go back to think about all the losses. Because the losses that you've had, whether they are emotional, material, they become the platform for your growth. So if you are really, I mean, you know, that's when you start to develop things like, there are two things in my body. One is the spirit. That spirit is as young today as the day I was born.
Okay.
And it'll be young till the day I die. The body gets old, and the person moves on. But the fact is that the spirit, now what does the spirit need to really come up? Is that if you find the middle path, and you're mindful of people, my argument has always been that, look, what you don't have any control on, don't blame the other person. You know, what do we have? I mean, we didn't have a choice where we were born. I could have been born in a Christian or a Hindu home or a Jewish home, or the other person could have been born in my home.
Right.
I mean, what choice did I have where I was born? But I'm very comfortable being a Muslim. I respect it. So I respect the other person. Okay. I must respect them. I mean, if I respect myself, it's incumbent on me to respect the other. So that became very much slowly a very strong part of my ethos going forward. Not judging people, not passing judgment, not not looking at anybody who's rich or who's poor, who's famous, who's not. You know, one of the things I think you may have read it because you've been through all my. I remember last year I was speaking at one of the conferences, and when I was a polo player, I was not bad, like everything to be an international polo player, but I didn't look for the limelight. I was looking for the divine light.
Ooh, that's a great place for us to stop because we have to go to break. I can hear the music. We'll pick it up right there when we come back with Muslim Lakhani, and we're going to talk about the divine light, playing polo, and we're going to talk about the charitable endeavors that he has been involved in for the last couple of decades and the work that he's doing in our local area. Stay with us.
One day these rats were playing in the woods. Wanted some matches and that's no good. Listen to smoke before you give it a try. Only you. Don't play with matches. Don't play with fire. Cause there's nothing very funny about rigged out money. Nothing very nice. Holy smile. So if a gorgeous force is what you desire, don't play with matches. Don't play with fire.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Fire.
Why don't you just wash your car at home? When I wash my car, everything runs down the street and down into the storm drains. With all the chemicals in the soaps and waxes, the last thing I want to do is poison my own drinking water. At least here, it's all contained and recycled on site. That's why I also take my car in for oil changes instead of doing it myself. I might take a chance on spilling stuff. You know what the best part is? What? More time to kick back and watch the game.
How far would you go to protect the planet?
I want you to build an ark.
Here we go. Okay, that's good. Oh, okay. Ow! Oh.
Maybe there's another way.
People, the flood is imminent. Is it too much to ask for a little precipitation?
Go to fightglobalwarming.com to find out what you and your community can do to reduce global warming pollution.
Somewhere around the world, there are men and women of the armed forces risking their lives, helping rebuild communities after natural disasters, collecting toys for needy children, tutoring kids in school. These are your sons and daughters who work to keep us safe, secure, and free. Dedicated men and women who put their country first.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Welcome back to the Inside Scoop. I'm Bettina Lawton here with Muslim Lakhani, and we are talking about his life, and we're going to talk about, in this segment in particular, the work that he's been doing in the United States and around the world to help other people who are less fortunate than he is. So, Muslim, when we went to the break, you were talking about being a polo player, and you could go for the limelight or the divine light. So, what did you choose?
Well, it was a very simple choice. I went for the divine light.
Okay.
It was a balm for my soul.
Okay. That's spirit, you said.
And it was a compass for my life. Today, when I think back, when I chose that, I didn't know at that time why I was choosing it, but now I see that it was comforting to me. I felt comfortable. I didn't need, like for instance, we have the feeding program going on here with the Salvation Army, but the feeding program going on in the country of my birth, Pakistan, in Islamabad, in 5 places. Nobody for 15 years, even now, I don't think anybody knows that I'm behind it. And one of the things is that, in countries like that, usually people say, why are you doing it? Do you have an agenda? Do you want to get into politics? So I was like, oh gosh, I just do it quietly. Right. I'm doing it for my own self. It makes you feel good.
Right. Well, and you are the major sponsor, if not the sole sponsor, of the Salvation Army Great Project, which feeds like 200 people every single day in D.C.
Yeah, in the D.C. area, and I'm really, really grateful for that.
Well, why are you? I mean, that's a Christian. I mean, everybody knows that's a Christian charity. Why are you so involved with that as a Muslim?
Well, when I was in England, I knew Salvation Army then. It's almost 200 years old. And they're the best in the business of feeding people. I mean, I wanted to go to the people who were the best. But I remember walking past them when I was living in D.C. and saying, if I walk and said, hi, my name is Muslim.
How did you get that name, by the way? That's like that seems like kind of a right out there name.
What you see is what you get.
Right.
My father gave me that name, and he wasn't around that I could ask him. So I kept it. And when they say, what's in a name? I'll tell you one thing. There's a lot in the name.
Yeah.
Every time I've said my name is Muslim, it's been like, okay,
right.
Now what?
Right. Okay, that's your religion. What's your name?
Yeah. I mean, that's also happened. I've landed in London from Italy, and it was one of those flights where there were, cheap ticket, student, a lot of gypsies, Hungarians, and everybody on that flight from Milan into London. And I filled it out and wrote my name, and the British are very, very polite. And the lady looked at me and looked at it again and said, speak English? I said, yeah, a little bit. She said, not your religion, your name. I said, madam, I'm very sorry, but my father thought I was going to be so dumb that he gave me 2 for 1. So there you have it.
So you wouldn't forget.
No, I wouldn't forget. But the other thing is that you've got to learn to laugh at yourself. I always introduce myself by saying my name is Muslim Mistake Lakhani, because mistakes we all make. Okay. And when we admit it, we become better as a human being. and admitting it, and then not forgetting the mistake, but moving on. Being positive about the mistake that you made. Right. So every day when I go to sleep, I think of, oh my God, how many mistakes did I make today? Can I make less tomorrow?
Right. Or at least make different ones tomorrow.
But the most important lesson I've learned in my life was, you are going to make a mistake. The others are going to make a mistake. Don't hold it against them. Don't hold grudges. Don't bear any hatred towards anybody. I mean, that's the way I live my life. I live my life in peace, though I've been, harassed many times. Not here, but in my own country by the Taliban. And if it wasn't for my ex-wife, who was very brave, who just had the presence to drive through. I was told by the intelligence later on that if they got me, they would have slit my throat.
Wow.
I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you.
Absolutely.
But that's the lesson, and that's what I want to tell the people listening today, the Muslims, especially the younger ones, that look, this life that we have today, it's a journey called life. It's a very small journey. Live it with all the passion that you have. And passion brings out compassion. And if you have passion, you will turn around and tell that ISIS guy or that Taliban or whatever, listen, you can do what the hell you want. I'm not going to live like a rat. I'm going to live like a lion, because when my time is up, I'm going to be dead.
Right.
But it ain't going to be because I'm afraid of you. That is for sure. That is a lesson I've tried to give to the young people wherever I've spoken, and it's been a few places, and it's been good.
Well, I wanted to talk a couple of different things, but I did want to not leave the Salvation Army and the charitable efforts, because you're doing that out of your own money.
Yes.
You don't fundraise. This is the money that you have accumulated from all of your entrepreneurship efforts over the course of many years. So this is not, and when we started the segment, it was started with, as an individual, you are trying to make a difference. You are being recognized for your interfaith work, like with the Salvation Army. Is that something that you think ought to become more common, or is it more common and people in the Muslim community just don't put it out there as much as other people might? I mean, you said you didn't when you were in Pakistan, and it's really since you've come to the United States.
There are many aspects to all this. One of them is that, charity. In Arabic and Urdu, we say khairat, the sadaqah in the Jewish, charity, all the prophets that came from Noah to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon all of them, Jesus, Moses. Charity is the central part. One of the things that Jesus said, I remember reading, because I was lucky that I took scripture in school. Reading my own religion, sure, absolutely, and practicing it, but I also read scripture. And I remember that beautiful saying, which I quote all the time, that when Jesus was asked, why did you say that to that rich man? And he said, well, it'll be easier for a camel to go through an eye of a needle than a rich man to reach the kingdom of heaven.
That's right.
And believe me, for me, I'm not very good at raising money. So whatever I have, whatever we make, we keep what we need, and we give away what we don't need. And in fact, Khalil Gibran said it beautifully. He said, what you owe someday will be given away. So let the season of giving begin, and let the joy be yours and not your inheritors.
Ah.
And so and somebody gave me a book a long time ago, which I didn't read it, but I loved the top of it, and said, giving while you're living. And that's what I'm doing.
That's what you're doing.
When I come to what the question you asked on Salvation Army, when I was in Italy, I was a young man, 17 and a half, 18, or younger. I got pneumonia, and I woke up in a hospital. I didn't know where I was. I passed out because I'd had asthma. It was winter, first winter out of a boy out of Karachi, and it's a warm place. And the first thing, when I opened my eyes and I looked up, and I saw two beautiful angelic faces looking down on me, and the cross on my chest. And I thought, oh my God, I'm dead, but I think I'm in the wrong lane. So I shut my eyes. So I shut my eyes and thought, okay, maybe I'll move on to the right. Anyway, I opened my eyes, and there I was. These beautiful angelic faces were looking down at me, and they actually helped me get better. And I got to know them. I stayed there for 2 months. They really took care of me, and I'd go to the church with them, light a candle, and so every day when I would walk past the Salvation Army, I would say, how do I do it? I want to really call them up and tell them. And there, after a while, we went to a fundraising for then President Obama in Philadelphia. And it was great meeting him. He was a wonderful president. And I was sitting there. It was a beautiful, balmy evening. I was enjoying the, lovely. He had gone off for giving a speech. And there came a lady and said, can I take this chair and sit down? I said, of course. And she had an Army kind of a uniform. So I said, are you with the Marines or? And she said, no, I'm from the Salvation Army. I said, my God, I didn't come to meet President Obama. He was Senator Obama then. I came to meet you. Excellent. And 2 days after that, bang, there was a call from Salvation Army, and we started on Christmas Day.
That is excellent.
So
a great story.
That was the story.
That's a great story. Well, I do want to note that you and I are going to be talking again later. We've talked about visiting hospice. You've expressed an interest.
Yes.
Visiting Veterans Hospital, so we are going to be doing that. I want to thank you for coming tonight, Muslim, and sharing your story with us. Individuals can make a difference. Whether you go to a church, whether you're affiliated with a mosque, it doesn't make a difference. As Muslims said, giving while we're living.